What's going on, guys, and welcome to my AEW Collision audio review for October 14th, 2023. I am Graham G.S. Matthews. Hope you guys are doing well and having a great one. Typically, these reviews go up on Sundays. This is not the norm to have them go up on Mondays, but because I attended New York Comic-Con on Saturday, I pushed my SmackDown audio review and the SmackDown Lowdown review to Sunday and the Collision review to Monday for this week only, so just a quick programming note on that. Not the most important episode to review anyway. I thought Collision was a solid show on Saturday night. I got back in time to watch the show. Not live, but like on a 30-minute delay. And it was fine. I thought it was a great main event. Not a whole lot of meat in the middle, though. So we'll get into it here. We opened up the show with a typical WWE talking segment, although this is an AEW show, so this was not the norm for AEW, but it felt like it was straight off of SmackDown or Raw, with Adam Copeland coming out, Christian Cage interrupting him, Bryan Danielson interrupting Christian Cage, FTR came out after Ricky Starks and Big Bill were out there. It was a whole mishmash of superstars. So the point here to me was to plant the seeds for a future 8-man tag team match, probably as soon as next week's Collision, with Copeland, Danielson, and FTR taking on Cage, Luchasaurus, or whoever, Nick Wayne, and Starks and Big Bill. We did not get that on this show. It probably would have set up a match for the show if Danielson and Copeland, or rather Danielson and Cage, weren't already going to have a main event for the TNT Championship. So I wasn't a big fan of the segment. I thought the mic work was fine. Everyone was good here. Kind of felt like it didn't really accomplish anything because we got them brawling at the end of the show anyway, which I'll get into later on. I just didn't really think the segment needed to happen. They were hyping up a match that was already announced for Collision later on in the main event. And I think here's the important thing. I don't know if we're getting Copeland and Christian in Full Gear or another time. To me, I would have held off on that for like Revolution or Double or Nothing, because that's a big match to do. If they are doing it in Full Gear, then I don't have as much of an issue with AEW having them interact at every turn. Every segment that Copeland has had since coming to AEW has involved Christian, sometimes twice on the same show. And I would not overexpose the two in the ring together and their interactions on the mic, because there's only so much they can say and do. They obviously interacted at WrestleDream 2 weeks ago. They interacted on Dynamite last week, Collision last week, Dynamite this week, and Collision this week. That's 5 times in the span of 2 weeks. And Full Gear isn't for another month. So if they're building up a match for Full Gear, that's fine. If they're holding off on it, which there's a chance they might, I'd rather they not rush into it so soon and give away all this interaction between the two, because come Full Gear, it's going to be like, all right, enough already. Let's just move on. But I thought the opening segment was fine for what it was. Our first match in the show saw the Ring of Honor World Television Champion Samoa Joe take on and defend successfully against Willie Mack, who I don't think is signed to AEW or Ring of Honor. He's had a handful of matches on ROH TV this year, but he also recently challenged for the MLW World Heavyweight Championship at their Fury Roadshow back in September of just last month, actually. So I don't think Willie Mack, if he's signed, then he probably would be simultaneously competing for MLW. It's possible. This felt like a one-off for AEW TV, although he's been on AEW TV before. They had a fun match. He looked good in defeat. Mack was never going to win the championship here, but it was a good match for what it was. It is worth noting, for anyone that cares anyway, Samoa Joe, I believe, according to the commentators, is 20 days away, I think, from breaking Jay Lethal's all-time record as the longest-reigning Ring of Honor World Television Champion of all time. So that's clearly the only reason why he's been champion for so long. He's been champion since friggin' May or April, I think April of 2022, obviously. He's been champion for almost a year and a half now. He outgrew that title a while ago. He does not need that championship. Joe should be a regular in AEW, not Ring of Honor. Not even really that he appears in Ring of Honor all that much anyway these days. They're probably just having him hold on to it until he breaks the record. At this point, why not? And then hopefully from there he can move on. I forgot to mention this too. The Samoa Joe vignettes they've been airing lately on Dynamite the last 2 weeks have been excellent. Joe in a suit talking about how he wants another crack at the AEW World Championship. Fantastic stuff. Although this was a good match though. Juice Robinson in action after that, taking on Christopher Daniels in a quality match. They did not reference the anti-Semitic joke or whatever it was on Wednesday's or Tuesday's Dynamite, which was completely unnecessary and tasteless and stupid, especially in light of everything going on right now. That was so fucking dumb. They did not acknowledge it here. I kind of worried they would double down on it and do it again with Robinson being in action. Thankfully, they did not. They didn't issue an apology or whatever, because again, I know he's a heel, like it's in character, brother, but still fucking dumb. Even if it was MJF's idea, still stupid. They should not have greenlit that. They should not have greenlit that idea at all. But this was a fine match. It gave Robinson a win ahead of next week's Dynamite Dozen Battle Royal. Or is it the Dynamite Dozen? They used to call it that. I think it's just the Dynamite Diamond Battle Royal now, where the winner will challenge MJF, I believe, for his Diamond Ring, probably the following week. I mean, they typically do it at Winter is Coming. They have for the last 4 or 5 years now. It's October, so they're probably not waiting until then. There might be a reason why they're doing it now. I'm not sure. But that was really the only reason this existed. We heard from Jay White on the mic afterward. Mike White might be his brother, addressing MJF, talking about their upcoming match at the AEW World Championship next month at Full Gear. More good stuff from Jay White already in the last couple of weeks alone. He's felt more like a top guy than he has since he arrived in AEW 6 months ago. So that's a positive. Kyle Fletcher, one-on-one with Boulder here of Iron Savages. Pretty standard showcase for Fletcher. We found out a little bit later on in the show that he's going to be challenging Kenny Omega to a match on Dynamite this coming Wednesday. So for those unfamiliar, Fletcher's partner, Mark Davis, and I think I mentioned this on my Collision and Dynamite reviews last week because Mark Davis wasn't there. Kyle Fletcher wrestled on that show against Bryan Danielson last week and against Jericho and Omega in a tag team match a week and a half ago on Dynamite alongside Konosuke Takeshita. So his partner, Mark Davis, is currently out hurt after an injury he suffered. I think he broke his wrist or his hand or something at WrestleDream 2 weeks ago. So Fletcher's flying solo for the second time this year. He was flying solo earlier on in 2023, had a great singles run in AEW, Ring of Honor. So now he's back on his own for right now. The guy's really, really good. And I think that Omega match one-on-one is going to be awesome next week. So I'm looking forward to that. And a match that kind of came out of nowhere, I did not know this match was scheduled for the show. Kris Statlander defending her AEW TBS Championship against Skye Blue here. I thought the match was good. One of Skye Blue's better matches in recent memory. It feels like she's constantly built up to do a whole lot of nothing on these shows where she racks up wins, and then whenever it matters most, whether it be a championship opportunity or against a bigger opponent on Dynamite or Collision, she loses. I mean, she beat Emi Sakura on Rampage. Who gives a shit? She lost here when it mattered most. They're telling a story with her, with the whole misting thing and the dark eyes and all that other sort of stuff, so we'll see where it goes. It's interesting. It's a nice character development for her because she really hasn't developed her character at all since arriving in AEW 2 years ago. So it's a nice change of pace, if nothing else. And the match was good. Statlander continues to roll on. Willow Nightingale also getting involved. She was missed too, but she's not showing the after effects of that anymore. She did for 1 week on one match she had on one of these shows, but then it quickly went away. So Willow Nightingale coming out to Skye Blue's aid, although Statlander didn't really do anything to attack Skye Blue at all, but I don't know what that was about. So it seems like we might be headed towards a Statlander-Willow match. Unless we've already gotten it, I'm just forgetting, but that might be a great match. That should be a great match for the AEW TBS Championship. Keith Lee in action against Turbo Floyd of the Outrunners. Quick squash here for Keith Lee. No mic time, just a quick squash. We've heard from him on the mic lately, backstage on Collision. So this has been a Collision feud with him and Shane Taylor. I'm glad they're programming the two. They are former tag team partners from a decade ago, which no one probably even really remembers. But they had great chemistry as a team, so they should have great chemistry as opponents. They've been involved in tag matches against each other, but not a one-on-one match yet on a major stage. I'm looking forward to it. And then in the main event, just like that, the AEW TBS Championship on the line, Christian Cage defending against Bryan Danielson. Excellent match here. This felt like a match straight out of 2011 and as good as a match they could have had in 2011. These guys are killing it right now. Cage's character work is awesome, but his in-ring work is just as good and has always been just as good. And then Danielson can never go wrong. So, unsurprisingly, a very fun main event. Cage winning via interference from Luchasaurus. Was it Luchasaurus? I think it was Nick Wayne and Ricky Starks hitting, or it was Big Bill, actually. I'm sorry. It was Big Bill distracting the ref. Starks rolls in the ring, hits Cage, or rather Bryan with the belt over the head. Cage covers and retains the title just like that. So, really good main event, cheap finish, but expected. He wasn't going to beat Bryan Danielson clean. I wasn't expecting that anyway. Then to close out the show, Christian Cage, Adam Copeland, Bryan Danielson, Luchasaurus, Nick Wayne, FTR, Starks, Big Bill, everyone. Just in a whole mishmash of a brawl here to close out the show. A lot like what we saw on Tuesday's Dynamite, which was a complete fucking mess. I feel like AEW does this all the time with their shows, where the shows constantly close out with brawls, which is just so unnecessary. But like I said, probably setting up an 8-man tag team match, either for Collision next week or the week after. So keep an eye out for that one. Pretty ho-hum edition of Collision, honestly. Not a bad show. Some decent squashes. Not like Collision didn't have squashes early on when it first started a couple of months ago. And there are some Collision exclusive feuds, like I mentioned. Statlander feels more like a regular on this show than she does on Dynamite, which is fine. Christian Cage is a Collision guy. Danielson is a Collision guy. So I love the main event. Not a big fan of the opening segment, although I know where they're kind of going with that whole 8-man tag team match thing. Samoa Joe was great. The match was enjoyable. I liked it. And the rest of the show was fine. So not a bad show, but not a great show either. Not a show you really need to go out of your way to see if you missed it on Saturday night. Thank you guys for checking out my audio review of AEW Collision for this week for October 14th, 2023. Appreciate you taking the time. Be sure to like the video, drop a comment, share the video, and subscribe to the channel for more daily content. Have an awesome one, guys. I'm Graham GSM Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.